back, and welcome to the Constitution Line by Line. I'm Paul Fabrizio.
And I'm Don Frazier.
And are you ready?
Yeah, we're on Article 1, Section 8, Clause 17. It's a long one.
It's a long one.
All right.
Congress shall have the power to exercise exclusive legislation in all cases whatsoever over such district, not exceeding 10 miles square, as may, by cession of particular states, and the acceptance of Congress, become the seat of the government of the United States, and to exercise like authority over all places purchased by the consent of the legislature of the state in which the same shall be, for the erection of forts, magazines, arsenals, dockyards, and other needful buildings.
All right, so this does two things, actually. This is the District of Columbia,
Yes.
or a federal district.
Right.
And also, who has title to the federal building in downtown Abilene.
There you go.
And that's what this boils down to. And the idea of forts and arsenals and other useful structures is important because a lot of times we forget who holds title, who holds deed to that territory. Texas has a large number of military reserves and forts, and that's property that's owned by the federal government with the consent of the state of Texas, and that's what this is anticipating.
Right. And the other part is the first part of this, which is the creation of the District of Columbia.
Yeah.
And the idea that's been since codified into law that the district citizens are citizens not of any state, but this specific district, and they're governed really by Congress.
Correct.
And I hate to say it, but if you're in Congress and you're on the committee for the District of Columbia, that's not considered to be a plum assignment.
No, because you're the city council of Washington,
Exactly.
in essence.
And Washington has home rule. It
Yes.
was established, I think, in the 1993, I think, where they have their own city council, they have their own mayor.
Yeah, sometimes better than others.
And they are allowed to do certain things. But in the end, ultimate control rests with the federal government, rests with the Congress of the United States.
By constitutional.
By the Constitution.
Yeah, authority.
And it makes for an uncomfortable relationship.
Oh, I imagine so.
And, in the end, and we'll discuss this later again in the Constitution when we come to some of the relevant amendments, but the members, the citizens in the District of Columbia don't have representation in Congress.
They have an electoral vote.
They have an electoral vote, but they don't have a representative in Congress. They have a delegate, but that delegate can't vote on meaningful issues. So what they've got is, and this is what their license plates say, taxation without representation. So you're in Washington, D.C., and you see the president's limousine driving around, and on its license plate, at the very bottom, is the words taxation without representation.
Really, it doesn't have government tags? It has state or district
His
tags?
district tax.
Really?
At least the last I saw.
Wow.
And so there you go. When you think about it, we fought a revolution over giving people the right to their representation. If you're going to raise your taxes, you should have a say in it. But the citizens of the very district don't have a say.
Except that they have a congressional committee.
That overlooks them, and the congressional committee is made up of people from other states.
So they oversee them and overlook them.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, so, in essence, they really aren't vested in their government like we are here in Abilene.
Not vested in their federal government?
They're not vested in their local government because they
Okay.
don't have control over their local government.
Over the city?
Over the city, because in the end, it is the members of Congress who have the final say. Yeah, they have the city council in Washington, D.C., they have all sorts of issues they deal with, that sort of stuff. But when push comes to shove, in the end, it's Congress.
They don't care who mayor is. If he's doing lines of blow, they don't care. Because in the
Washington, D.C. has had its share of interesting mayors.
yeah, because ultimately it's just kind of a sideshow.
Yeah, I mean, and
So
that's the
might as well
unfortunate reality.
elect sideshow style candidates.
Yeah, and if you are a representative who's sent to that committee, I hate to use the word, sentenced to that committee, you know, you're representing West Texas and all of a sudden you have to sit on the District of Columbia committee. What do you care about it?
Yeah,
Is
correct.
it really your interest? And over time, there's been more and more power given to the city council and the mayor of Washington, D.C. But in the end, Congress has the final say.
Interesting. So on the forts and other things, that's pretty self-explanatory.
Right.
I mean, if federal government needs to build a fort, they need to go to the state and say, can we build a fort here?
Yeah.
And the state will probably say, well, heavens, yes. We think that's a great idea
Yes.
because that's going to bring in revenues and it's going to protect our harbors or whatever else.
Right.
But that becomes an issue in 1861 when there's a lot of federal property
Yes.
in parts of the continent that are no longer claiming to be part of the United States.
Yes.
Places like Fort Sumter.
Oh, South Carolina.
And Fort Pickens in Florida, and
Yeah.
you know, the arsenal at Baton Rouge and the Alamo and places like that.
Yeah.
So it becomes a flashpoint brought to you by the U.S.
Constitution.
That's right.
Right. So, I don't know what else to say about this.
One other question I have for you.
Yeah.
You know, the District of Columbia was 10 miles square. And then south of the Potomac, they just kind of ditched it one day.
Looks like it.
Yeah, why?
I don't know.
Because the District of Columbia does not extend into Virginia.
No. And I don't
That must have
recall-
happened early on, too.
I don't recall. Was it Virginia and Maryland who gave some of their
Yeah.
territory?
Yeah.
Was it both of them who
Yeah.
gave some of their territory?
That was the idea.
Okay. To the national government.
Correct.
Okay.
And Virginia said, nah, never mind.
We'll take some of it back.
Yeah, we'll have Alexandria.
Yeah. Okay.
All right, so that's our line.
That's our line.
It was long and wordy, but hey.
Yeah, I mean, what it establishes is that there's a District of Columbia and it's controlled by Congress.
Yeah, and there's some forts and stuff.
There you go.
Okay. We'll pick up the next. And is this the final clause?
We're heading to the final clause of Article 1,
Section
Section 8.
in the next episode. Thanks.